Hey family, welcome to How Love Works, where we talk about the principles for lasting love. Well family, I think I want to start out by first apologizing. I got sick. I'm sorry, I can't help that one, and I may even show some signs of that as I try to fight through this illness. I unfortunately kind of caught the end of this illness from my wife. I guess that's just one of the perks of being married and still being as close as we are. We sometimes catch one another's illnesses, and so I'm trying to work my way through this illness. And you may see me sniffling sometimes as I go through this. But see, just right there, I'm trying to deal with it. But I want to talk to you today about something that came to me from a friend. I'm on Facebook, and of course, some people send me information, and a lot of people know I make no bones about who I am. I'm a man of God, and I don't try to hide that fact one way or the other. So I will give you a little caveat here at the onset here. Those of you who may not really want to hear this information, I suggest right now you might want to go ahead on and turn me off at this point, because I want to talk today about a subject matter that I thought I understood better than I do, and I was sent some information, I think, to give me another view. I will say also, before I read this information to you, that I'm not necessarily saying that I agree wholeheartedly with all of the facts that has being presented. I'm just giving a point of view. And so I'm not trying to do something that's going to be controversial or anything like that. I'm not trying to do any of that. All I'm doing is presenting another perspective. Fair enough? All right. The topic that I want to discuss today, or the subject matter I want to discuss today, is why is it that Christian men don't like dating Christian women? And that's what the article is about. Why is it that Christian men don't like dating Christian women? Now, to me, it's somewhat of an enigma, because I don't really understand it myself to some degree. Why is there a why? I mean, since we no longer court anymore, nor do we have arranged marriages anymore, which is what you will see in the scriptures, and since our culture only seems to focus on dating and relating as the doorway to marriage, I, for the life of me, I don't understand why Christian men would be averse to the concept of dating Christian women. And I guess I will say a little bit about that later on, but I want to go ahead and read the information to you as it was sent to me. And, you know, if you got your opinion on it, feel free, give me your opinion. I'm just going to read the information, and if I have any commentary on it, I will. But it really shocked me, to be honest. A lot of this I wasn't really aware of. Some of it I was, but some of it was really intriguing. So let me start. Here's the information right here. One of the first reasons that Christian men don't really want to date Christian women is because they say the pastor and the deacon, the bishop, or we'll say the leadership of the church, they have more credibility with the woman, and they have more of the woman's ear in the relationship than the man himself. So, in other words, he doesn't have a significant position in the relationship when you compare him to the leadership in the church. So that's one of the reasons that a lot of Christian men don't like to date Christian women, because they don't occupy a significant area. They do not occupy an area of priority in the minds of most Christian women. This is what they're suggesting. This is their opinion. I don't know this. I'm just reading what they're saying. Okay, the other one is, number two is they're too busy. The men say that the women are too busy, and so if we're going to go on from a perspective of if the woman is too busy, then she's obviously too busy to date. So I guess if that's what their perception is, I guess that's reality. The other one is no other exposure. That's number three. They have no other exposure other than the church, according to this information. They have no other exposure. I have some issues with this, obviously, because as a Christian, I don't know what other exposure they need. I mean, most women are not born into the Christian faith, and most women have spent many years, most of the time, in what we would consider the world before they come to faith. And so I have some issues with this particular point. But they say, for example, they can quote the Bible but can't discuss the latest topics affecting the culture. Personally, it's been my experience that is an issue on both sides of the aisle. I've seen that, of course, with some Christian women, but I've also seen it with women who are not Christian. They can't discuss the topics that affect the culture as well, because it's been my view that most African Americans are monolithic. They're one-sided anyway. Everything is going to be very, very extremely liberal, and everybody's going to be always Democrat. That's going to be their perspective, because in the African American community, you can't be anything but a Democrat. And if you're anything else but a Democrat, then you're a sellout. So this point to me is moot. All right, too sanctimonious. That's number 4. I've seen that one. So this one is yeah, I've seen this one. Occasionally you will run into that, the sanctimonious attitude, overly I guess you would say they have a pristine perspective on everything, and sometimes it can be sugary sweet and real over the top for most people. Number 5 is outside social circles. This is something that's different. I've never heard this one before. I've heard of quite a few, but this one's different. This one has to do with some of these high-flying, high-profile, high-revenue-generating Christians, and the suggestion is that they're concerned about Christian women who have not been exposed to wealth and that type of lifestyle, so they're concerned about their motives for getting into a relationship. I would suggest that, and it's my opinion, that you would concern yourself with any woman or any man that would befriend you if that's your concern, because of the fact that they have been outside of financial circles. Many people are outside of financial circles, and so when they meet people who have means, typically people who have means, they concern themselves, and rightly so, with the motives of those who are trying to befriend them. Okay, now here's another one I would agree with. Not submissive. I think this is just primarily due to the fact that a lot of feminism has come into the church and has overwhelmed the church, from the standpoint that the culture has taken a very strong position in the church, and as a result of that, even the Christian women have a very difficult time with the concept of submission. They don't really understand it, because the Bible really deals with the concept of mutual submission. Even to come into a relationship with God Himself, one has to submit. And the problem with the issue of submission, not only in the church, but people who are not in the church. We all submit. It's a reality. We all submit. When we work, we're in a position of submission. When we are in relationships with family members, we all submit certain areas of our lives. We submit certain abilities and capabilities to others. And this is what you do in order to function and operate in the world. Submission is just something that we do automatically, and we don't think about it, and it's normal, and we do it on our jobs every day. But when it comes to intimate personal relationships between a man and a woman, all of a sudden it's a major issue. That just says to me that we have a long way to go, and that there's some severe dysfunction. Because if you have a difficult time with mutual submission, then you're not really ready for partnership. You're not really ready. You're too immature because you don't understand submission. All right, not feminine enough. Again, that's the culture coming in and the culture changing basic dynamics between how women and men function. And so now you're seeing more of the reverse, where you're seeing women who are receivers, not only anatomically, but receivers, I would even say intuitively, but because of the way the culture is, now it's the opposite. They're givers, they're very masculine, and so they're initiators, so it's causing some severe problems with relating. This one's different. I didn't know about this one. They say two-faced. Now, for me, being a two-faced Christian, that doesn't even make sense. I'm not saying that there are Christians who don't make decisions that violate the scriptures. Obviously there are, but to make this something a two-faced Christian, this is a person that may be calling themselves a Christian, but this is not behavior becoming of a Christian. So I personally wouldn't want to be involved with someone that's operating from a fake and phony perspective. I wouldn't even want to deal with them, whether it be a male or female. Okay, the other one is not the prize. This is number 10, not a prize. What that means is the women in the church don't think that the man is a prize. I think the man should be viewed with some sense of with some respect, obviously, but I personally believe that the woman is the prize. That's just my view. That's how I've trained my daughters. That's what I've always told them, that they were the prize. And the reason is because they're the ones doing the receiving, so they certainly need to do some real checking on the type of man that they're potentially seeking a relationship with. So I think there should be obviously some appreciation, some gratification, and some humility when it comes to the man that they're dealing with, and they should certainly respect that individual. But I think the reality when it comes to personal relationships, I personally think, this is just my opinion, I just think the woman is the prize. And so I know that's not the case now. Everybody's on this equal thing. It's interesting how we get so focused on being equal, but equal kind of coincides to me with freedom. And the more freedom you have, the less equal things will most likely be, if you just think about it. The more freedom you have, the less likely you're going to have equality, because if you have more freedom, if you understand it from my perspective, if you have more freedom, then you're going to have more freedom for me to probably pursue things that may be more advantageous to me, and I may benefit that much more and you may not. So we won't be equal, but the freedom allows that. The thing that makes it better or makes it good is that we want to maintain a system of moral values that respect each other's abilities and respect each other's deficiencies, and not look at them as inferiorities. And when you have freedom and without the proper moral framework, then you're going to have some severe problems, which is what we're experiencing today. Always preaching and not listening. That's number 11. Always preaching and not listening. I've experienced that too. Even though I've been married over 30 plus years, I've seen this in young ladies who they want to get their preach on, and they're not willing to listen to a brother. They don't really understand that what you want to do is, with a relationship, especially one that you're trying to develop, and you're trying to get that relationship to go from an attraction to a bond to a commitment, what you want to try to do as a woman is you want to try to influence and give or invest into the relationship, give to that man raw materials that he personally needs to make him a better man. That's what you want. And you do that with your words, your actions, your deeds, and your affections. That's what you do as a woman, right? You want to influence the relationship to the point where that man wants to commit. But you have to know what you're doing. If you're just preaching to a brother, all that says to him is that, okay, I'm a moral depraved individual, so I don't need a relationship with you, because we're on two different levels. You're God and I'm some roach. So I've seen that. Okay, and the last one, can't date Jesus. This is number 12. This one I've seen this one too. Basically, all this is some women have some some unrealistic expectations about the men that they're looking at dating, and they're comparing sometimes these guys to the other men in their churches that they admire, or even the character of Christ, and all this. And so they have some unrealistic expectations about how he ought to be, rather than having a realistic perspective. I'm not going to preach to anybody here. I'm just saying to those of you who claim to be Christian, you understand that we're sinners saved by grace. Okay, we're going through a process where we're going to be works in progress up until the time they put us in a box. So you need to have that same mindset when you're dealing with someone. You're dealing with a man or a woman who is a work in progress. The person is not perfect, so don't look for perfection. Your goal is to learn. Your goal is to invest. Your goal is to provide raw material. Your goal is to cultivate. Your goal is to influence, persuade, not to manipulate people, not to try to take advantage of people. That's your goal. So, I don't necessarily agree with everything I just read. I don't disagree with some of the things I read. I was just shocked, to be honest. I'm shocked. I thought the reasons that the brothers weren't dating, black sisters, Christian sisters in the church, was that, there wasn't that many brothers in the church. That was my thing. I'm sure that's part of it, but now they decided to give their opinion. What do you guys think? That's my time. I thank you for yours. God bless you, and I catch you on the other side.